Hi, everyone, and welcome to another live session as part of AHF's 2020 virtual conference. I'm Leah Riley, the Executive Director of the Association for Healthcare Food Service, and I'm super excited about today's session. Before we get started, I want to quickly remind everyone that directly following this live panel discussion and Q&A, we will be hosting our second exhibit hall, which will be from 4 to 6 p.m. So directly following this session, the exhibit hall will begin. And during that time, you will be exploring the exhibit hall tab, clicking into sponsors' booths, where you can set meeting times with them, send them a chat, download their documents, explore their products, and more. During this time, our sponsors will be live and online. So we very, very much hope that all of our operators will stick around and then network with our sponsors during this time. And without further ado, I am going to turn it over to our sponsor, Tyson and Meredith Austin, who are going to introduce this session for us. Thanks so much for joining us today, Meredith.
Great, thank you, Leah. Hi, everyone. I'm Meredith Austin, Senior Channel Marketing Manager with Tyson Food Service. We are proud to be a partner and gold level sponsor of this year's AHF virtual conference. We hope you're all enjoying the conference so far. I know I am. And now I am pleased to introduce today's moderator, Bill Anderson with Winsight Media. Bill is the Senior Vice President of Non-Commercial Food Service for Food Service Director Magazine and Winsight Media. Bill has been in food service media for over 30 years. He is a member of AHF's Industry Advisory Board, ANFP, NACUFS, and is a member of Trinity Health System's Food and Nutrition Services Council. So Bill, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Meredith. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with this prestigious panel and to be part of the AHF virtual conference. But before we get started, I want to quickly introduce our speakers. I know time is of the essence for our panel discussion this afternoon. First, we have Angela O'Neill. Angela presented on service and is the Director of Nutrition at Hunterdon Medical Center in Flemington, New Jersey. She has worked in the hospital for over 27 years with roles as clinical dietitian, clinical manager, assistant director, and the last 14 years as director. We also have Veronica McLinmont, who presented on hospitality. She is the Director of Food and Nutrition at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York City. She is a registered dietitian and nutritionist and a certified dietitian nutritionist and a certified professional life coach and a lifestyle and wellness expert. Thank you for joining us, Veronica. Next, we have Zia Ahmed, who presented on food. Zia is Senior Director of The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, which serves more than 1 million customers a year. That's not just transactions, that's customers. So it's a pretty staggering number. He provides the highest level of oversight in over 30 dining facilities on the Ohio State campus. He holds a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from the University of Akron. Zia has 25 plus years in college and university food service dining. Thank you for joining us, Zia. And our fourth presenter is Ben Anderson, who presented on innovation. Ben was the eye of fish. He is the head of industry relations for Grubhub and has spent the last decade helping operators understand and implement mobile technology in their dining environments, working on the forefront of the industry at Tipingo, which is now Grubhub. Ben partnered with many of the country's top dining programs to help shape the modern era of retail service. So with that, I'd like to get started with, let's just go in order of fish. Let's start with Zia on food. Zia, with your experience both through, which we saw on your panel, your discussion, you did a lot through inspiration and perspiration, as we can see that you were in El Salvador. In your goal of better understanding our food system and its ultimate impact on your students, staff, faculty, anybody that your dining program interacts with, and I loved your statement about being a better neighbor and owning this. Do you have any suggestions on how healthcare operators can get started? You have a pretty aggressive program with those 4 ideas you shared with us, which are fantastic. Is there a great way or easy way to get started? I know nothing's easy. Any suggestions on how to get started and where to start?
Sure, absolutely. I would say that food systems problems that are existing right now are very complex problems. Sometimes I like to refer to them as mega wicked problems, right? And they have been developed over many, many years. So for those of you who have put out holiday lights during the holiday times, right? And some are more disciplined than others when they put it away. But, then when it's come time in December, you take them out and start untangling those lights and the wires. So you realize it can get very, very difficult at times, right? Imagine those a million times more tangled, right? So how you do it, you have to have a lot of patience. You have to take measured approach, and you have to expect that there will be setbacks. What you don't want to do is you can't get frustrated, right? You cannot want to make progress too quickly at times. Because sometimes when you try to do it too quick, the setbacks could be much greater than what you want to be. So, and you have to be thoughtful, patient, and persistent. That's how you solve this problem.
Got it. Got it. Thank you, Zia. Thank you, Zia. Ben, next is innovation. You discussed the intersection of technology and what I'm interpreting consumer acceptance along the way. You mentioned Amazon didn't happen overnight. It was a long progression to get us here. Do you have any recommendations for, you've seen technology work and whatever that might look like in other segments of the industry? How do you see healthcare operators taking advantage of the benefits of technology and what it can lead to? Any suggestions for us how to get started?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I think that kind of the theme that I was sort of hammering into in the presentation was, connecting the consumer to your services and products in as kind of clean and efficient way as possible. And I think kind of starting there as a base, one, healthcare is, does a tremendous job with technology. I mean, I've had the privilege of spending a host of time at St. Jude over the years, and I can't think of a place that's sort of more technologically innovative and forward thinking. I think, when it comes to those memorable experiences that we heard, from Veronica and Angela, how you connect and communicate with the customer, I think that's where we want to start. I mean, I think that's where people's expectations has really changed, is how they get information, how easily they can access that information. So, I think just kind of thinking of a broad, non-food service specific, example, and then maybe diving into a food service specific example, how you communicate pre and post someone's visit to the hospital. I know, for example, hospitality and the hotels have done a kind of good job. I know my personal experience sort of took a while to get used to it, but there's sort of these text chats that you can use now where someone sort of welcomes you in and becomes sort of this streamlined set of service when people come in. So how you can use some of those existing services there, both prior to someone's visit, and sort of post. And I think similarly with food service, examples, how do you connect with your customer after they leave? So maybe that's outpatient meals. So I envision a world where a family gets ready to leave a stay, and there's sort of a box of healthy meals for a week's worth of meals or days worth of meals sort of waiting for them with some instructions and some reminders and maybe some sort of digital follow-up after that. So how we take this sort of in-person experience and sort of extend it out both pre and post to make sure we're kind of meeting the expectations of the customer, but also using those opportunities to have those positive touch points beyond when they're just in the facility itself. Right,
great. Thank you, Ben. Angela, service, you shared with us a number of great examples, both that you've had as a consumer, friends you've had, and what you do with your staff at Hunterdon. And service is always subject to interpretation, right? How, with the growing impact of healthcare, both in demographics that we see, as well as Technomic talks about healthcare is the most increased segments of food service that are going to be growing over the next couple of years. Do you think consumer expectations and staff expectations are changing, that it's going to be difficult to meet that expectation or create those, what do you call it, build credits?
I do think that the bar is definitely set higher as the years have gone on with healthcare and food service. I think in the beginning, the expectations weren't as high, and now consumers really are comparing us to their restaurant experiences, to their hotel experiences, to anything that is one of those touch points that they have. And I do think that it is tougher, but I don't think it's impossible. I think that as long as people are kind and nice and look for the things that the person wants. That's why we put room service in many years ago, because, and a lot of facilities did that because that was what the patients were looking for. And I also think that, building up credits is just something that people need to be aware of. We all need to do it. We do it with each other, and I think we all do it really well. But sometimes, our younger staff, they don't understand that human connection maybe as much, and sometimes a little fearful because technology is good. But when I see young people behind their technology all the time and not talking to each other, it does concern me somewhat. How are they going to interact with others? And then I also think, like Ben, with technology, with people ordering online, how do we make it so that it's more of a human experience instead of just a computer or a phone experience? What are we going to add in there that's going to make it seem like it's more like a person, not so much just the technology behind it?
Sure. That's a tough one. And Veronica, similar question on hospitality, which I think is so elusive. We all know about the hospitality created by Nordstrom's or Danny Meyer, which you referenced on your call, which is a fantastic example of hospitality. Do you think the bar has gotten too high in what people's expectations are there as well? Hospitality seems to be elusive, or maybe not.
I don't think the bar is too high at all, and I don't think it's not necessarily difficult. I think that we simply have to know the consumer journey, and as I mentioned earlier, just map that out and work towards making our services customer centric. One of the things that I know that customers are looking for is a unique, one-of-a-kind experience, something memorable. And it's important to note that something that's really big today is no longer a big deal tomorrow. So as operators, we need to recognize and respond to be sensitive to these shifts and the preferences and the customer expectations as they evolve. And I was just thinking of the mobile devices and social media. They're so commonplace today, and consumers have clear, strong brand identities, and they feel connected and they can resonate, of course, with the authenticity. As Angela mentioned earlier, people do want the personalized care, their personalized experience, and they want it to be authentic.
Mm-hmm. Sure, exactly. We've got our first question coming in. And I'll have this question go to Zia because I think it touches a little bit on what you and I have been talking about over the years. As the need for implementation and contactless payment and delivery begin to reach critical mass, how do you see hospitality and service changing? So since we heard from Angela and Veronica right there, I'd like to have you answer that. Do you see hospitality and service changing in this virtual format?
No, I truly believe that the core service values are like lighthouses, right? So there will be waves and there will be storms come and go, but lighthouses continue to stay in its place. They don't change. So the values of service that Angela and Veronica talked about, nothing will change that because that is authentic human connection. Mm-hmm. And authentic human connection is like a lighthouse. It will stay in its place. Now, how do you create those authentic human connections may change. So for example, if you're doing a lot of, which in our case, we're doing a lot of mobile order. We were doing a lot of mobile orderings even over the last few years. We're the top mobile ordering campus in the country, right, Ben? But we did not forget the values of service. You change it from an ordering point to pickup point. That's when the interaction happened, right? And people still continue to crave those authentic human connection. And also, we created we call it the ambassador program, the service ambassadors. So you find a more engaging way to interact with customers. And what we found, Bill, is that as opposed to having a cashier interacting with the customer and trying to act like a human robot because they have 20 people on the line, now the interactions are a lot more meaningful because they're not under that pressure when they're interacting with guests.
Oh, got it. You're all exceptional leaders, and has your definition of service excellence changed as it relates to hospitality and food service as a result of COVID? Angela, how about we have you answer that one?
I think that, it's been tough for us because my staff had to give up the ability to serve to the patients. In March, we were asked to preserve PPE. So we didn't have that connection. And I think my staff really missed it, but they tried to interact with the nurses and try to make them feel good. So this way, the nurses, when they were delivering into the patients' rooms, that, it's that interconnectivity that you make somebody feel good. So then they can pass it along. For quite some time, we were not having that. And now, it's getting back to normal. And, the interactions with the staff to the patients are, very positive. It's still that we have some disposables. So our temperatures are probably not as good as they would be if we didn't have to use disposables.
Sure. We do the best we can in the situation we're given.
Exactly.
So we make lemonade with the lemons so that we get. Veronica, as we think about hospitality and to continue that conversation, what are new tools that you've seen? You mentioned new tools and finding tools, being aware of new tools. What are some new tools that you've seen in healthcare that you think really represent hospitality and meeting that expectation or taking it to a new level?
Over the last few years, several tools have emerged. And one I can speak to is an interactive patient education platform called PCare. And this actually connects staff with patients and patients with staff. And so we see, the call bells disappearing as we speak because of something like PCare. And many healthcare organizations now have concierge services and in-room dining, as was mentioned earlier before, where we're providing personalized restaurant-style meals and delivering it to patients exactly when they want it. There are many discharge lounges now that are popping up in healthcare organizations that are equipped with amenities. And these amenities help to enhance care transitions as people get discharged. I think we're well aware of the online education videos that many organizations are providing. For example, I can speak to nutrition classes or videos on how to prepare certain meals. Robots are certainly not brand new. And I was thinking of the hotel industry where they have mobile check-in and room selections and mobile keys and chat bots and instant access to information without guests having to wait at the front desk. But we could certainly take some lessons from the hotel industry in the healthcare industry. And one thing I wanted to mention is that in 2017, Deloitte did a survey on moving forward in an uncertain environment. And the results actually showed that 60 to 70% of the people with healthcare issues did look for information online. So I see a lot of automation and I see a lot more technology emerging and being utilized in the healthcare environment.
Sure. Great. Thank you. To add to what Veronica was saying about the POS and mobile, Ben, what advice would you give a healthcare system to promote or entice or incent hospital employees who might be hesitant to using ordering through their mobile ordering app? Any advice, suggestions for comfort level?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to start with an answer that may seem indirect at first. And actually, I'll give credit to Zia for really sort of instilling this into me through experience. I think it actually starts with staff and creating buy-in for why we're doing it, what it means, and that this isn't a replacement, the overarching theme here, right? This isn't a replacement for service. It's just another way to accomplish that. And I mean, I think that's my, sort of decade of experience doing this. It's those early interactions that the customer has through technology. It's only starts with the mobile phone. It ends with the consumer experience, whether the food's being delivered or it's being picked up. And if that guest or consumer experience at the end of it feels positive and it all works, that has sort of this huge downstream impact on, I think, adoption and success in the program. And again, it's not as easy as saying, again, these dining environments are so complicated, right? There's so many different people involved. So just creating that overarching buy-in of why we're doing it and really positioning this as a tool to create great service, not necessarily a replacement. So absolutely, I think it starts there because the staff isn't going to use a program if they think it's creating a native experience for your team at the dining side, right? So I think it very much starts there. And then, a variety of ways I think to connect. It's really about understanding the day-to-day use cases. Marketing in a nurse's, lounge or station, understanding that you have a whole population of healthcare professionals that are parking in a parking lot. And if they ordered their coffee or Starbucks before they even walk to the facility, it would be waiting for them. So I think it starts with how we sort of instill why we're doing this. And then it's about looking for these sort of micro interactions. It's not just, hey, we're adding mobile ordering. No, it's the use cases. We're adding a way for you to order before you come in. We're adding a way where you can stay in your station and be notified when it's ready. We're adding a way for you to do outpatient delivery for the week after someone leaves, and then kind of drilling all those sort of use cases back into these overarching principles of service and hospitality.
Got it. Thank you. Angela, I saw you kind of shaking your head. Yes. Do you have some examples of situations that Ben kind of talked about? Have you?
Well, it's actually that I'm thinking about all that because we're in the process of looking at adding online ordering. I haven't had it here. We are a small campus, but I've been doing some research and stuff, and we've actually had about 600 employees, some of them recently, but over the years, move off campus within a mile of our campus. So that's a big audience there, and I'd love to get their business back, because the more that we push outside of our doors, the more likelihood that we're going to lose customers, and a lot of people working from home now. But if people are in the area, they know how good our food is. They enjoyed it. They hated moving off campus and not having that access. So that's why I was kind of shaking my head, because I was like, I gotta listen to all those key points.
Sure. Got it. Okay. All right. We still have time for a couple of questions here as we wind down. We just have a few minutes left. Let's go with the question we talked about before. Each of you, I mean yesterday on our pre-conference call. And oh, by the way, I think, Angela, you said it best. Zia, we're all looking at our food now, wondering where it came from. Do I know the grower? Do I know the farmer? So thank you for opening our eyes, and food is medicine. Thank you for that. But each of you touched on, in a way, the word which piqued my curiosity, the word curiosity. Is that something you can teach? New ideas come from people being curious or challenging the status quo. Can you teach curiosity? Can you help pass that on, whether it's your staff or customers, or how do you deal with curiosity? How do you create that? Or do you role model it?
I could start.
Okay.
I was thinking of curiosity, and the first thing that came to mind was babies. Just like babies are born learners, and they have a natural curiosity trying to figure out how the world works. And so I think it's a basic human attribute to be curious. Now, can you teach it? That's the question. Obviously, it can be cultivated and encouraged, particularly in the workplace. And so what I think should happen in terms of curiosity is actually encouraging your staff to come with questions, and have them have a desire to gain knowledge. Taking risk is another way to be curious, because sometimes if we're too reserved about taking risks, then we'll never really employ curiosity. And in fact, curiosity actually improves engagement and collaboration. So I think you can teach that. If you think about the people that we work with, our coworkers and our staff, and even people in our personal lives, we can encourage it among them, giving them feedback and recognition. So they're curious about something. It's like research. Research is a part of curiosity. Mm-hmm. So giving the recognition, the feedback, and even a reward And if you think back, most breakthrough discoveries and inventions actually happened because somebody was curious, when you think about history. And so I believe that it is an impulse to seek new information, experiences. It is innate, and that, we should really encourage it. And in fact, organizations can benefit from people being curious.
Mhm. Great. Zia, how about you with all the new things you implement and your 25 years of experience? Curiosity.
Yeah, I would go back to my example during the fish talk that I gave about being a great neighbor, right? So it starts with a simple greeting and a smile at sometimes, right? And I think curiosity, if you really want to encourage people to be curious, they have to be able to trust you and have to have a relationship with you, right? I think that's where it starts. I think once you build that trust and relationship, it's much easier to be more curious than not. And I truly believe that curiosity can be reignited. I think Veronica is absolutely right. We are all born with a curiosity that's natural to us, right? Then we over time build those habits of not to be. But we can reignite it. But that reignition has to happen, start with trust and relationship.
Right. So Angela, is that creating a safe space for employees and safe zone as you think about your Hunterton healthcare heroes and all the great programs you've launched?
Yeah, I think that, we often, our staff meetings have these little, think about a great idea. What is it that we can do better? And, you have to stop to listen to every idea, because a great idea can come from somebody who maybe doesn't have confidence, and you've just now given them that confidence that you inputted, did something that they came up with that idea. And that's like a gold reward to them. You can say, oh, your thank yous. But I think when somebody comes out of their shell and uses their curiosity to suggest something and it becomes something great, it's a win-win.
Sure.
And
Thank
Bill,
you.
if I could just add to that real quickly. So what we do for our team is we have a WhatsApp channel. We call it the Liquid Network. And all of our managers have access to it. And the rule is that once somebody puts an idea, everybody gets to see that idea, but no one can comment on the idea, whether it's good or bad. You can only submit ideas. And what a great, safe way to share your ideas, right?
Right, exactly. And where I see we're at our end. Boy, this time went by so quickly. But Zia, there was one question for you. Zia, this individual loved your example of sourcing your local chicken product, including breading. The assumption would be the cost would be much higher as something off the truck. Any challenges with that? Was it significantly higher?
Totally agreed. So yeah, cost is often higher at the beginning when you're trying to source a product like this and trying to do the groundwork yourself. But what's more important than locals product is transparent product. And the large companies are really good at figuring out how to keep the costs low, but at the same time transparent. But if as consumers we're demanding the transparency, then we don't have to sacrifice cost.
Got it. Great. Well, you guys have been a great panel, and thank you. This was we could keep talking for a long time, but I know our time's up. So I'll thank you, Tyson, for sponsoring the fish panel discussion today, and I'll turn it back to Leah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Bill. And thanks everybody for joining us today. This has been really great. Hopefully everybody that joined us today for this panel also had a chance to watch the recorded fish talks. If you did not, you can go back and watch them. They are linked in the virtual platform. So we encourage you to watch each person's presentation: Angela, Zia, Veronica, and Ben. And of course, the four of them will be available throughout the conference platform. So you could always email them or chat with them to ask them an additional question as well. So I want to thank the four of you. And I want to thank Bill and Meredith for joining us today for this awesome session. And before everybody goes, don't press that off button just yet. I just want to remind you guys that the virtual exhibit hall is now open. So you basically are in the virtual exhibit hall. It's within the conference platform itself. So you're going to click on the virtual exhibit hall tab. And during the next 2 hours, our sponsors will be online and actively available to answer your questions. So you are virtually sort of zooming through the booths, opening each individual sponsor booth and then asking them questions in the chat box. You can hop right into a video meeting with them or ask to set a meeting time that works best for you. They have documents that you can download, many of which have more information about their products or discounts depending on the sponsor. And then there's also product listings. So please do participate. AHF is also providing prizes every single week for networking. So you can download the week 2 game card in the networking lounge right now. And then as you're networking throughout the next 2 hours, and then of course the rest of the week, if you want to check out the booths, they're available 24/7. At the end of this week, we'll post a link to a survey and you can fill that out to win a number of prizes, including 4 $25 gift cards, $100 gift card, and AHF membership. So there's some really good stuff on the table. And all you have to do is network. So hopefully you guys will stick around and network with our sponsors. Consider this to be like a trade show in person. Our sponsors have definitely put a lot of time into their booths to get everything ready for you. So we hope you guys will join us and stay online for the next 2 hours. And with that, I'm going to close this out and thank you guys so much for everything that you've done for this session, for this panel discussion, and for the conference as a whole. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.